Hey everyone, Sean Devine with Douglas Elliman. Welcome back to How's the Market. This month we're going to split this video into two segments. In the first, we'll quickly analyze the data from the past month. In the second, we're going to look at the real estate indicators that we use to analyze the data to create these videos, talk about why these indicators are important, how to think about them, why they should matter to you. Looking at the data, year over year, we saw contracts go down by only 0.9% last month. So we're back to even after seeing some up and downs the last months before that. Looking at where we saw lots of contracts signed, lots of contracts were signed in the resale Upper West Side and Midtown markets, in the resale studio market, in the 3+ bedroom resale and new development market, a rare win for new development, and in the Brooklyn 2 and 3 bedroom market. What's struggling? Same story as has been the case for a long time. New development is struggling. Might not be the worst news in the world if you're a buyer. In fact, it is actually probably a great news if you're a buyer. Really awesome opportunity to negotiate there. If you're a developer, not the best news because there's so much supply there. Developers are being forced to really negotiate to get their product sold. Don't have many options other than to do that. Upper East Side was another segment of the market that was struggling. The only exception to that being the above 5 million range. That did really well last month, which is interesting for two reasons. One, almost all of the Upper East Side struggled last month. And two, almost all of the above 5 million market struggled last month, with the exception of the Upper East Side above $5 million range. Super interesting. And the other big loser, I am so sorry, Brooklyn Studios, but 3 Brooklyn Studios went into contract last month. It's never a huge part of the market there, but it is usually larger than 3. Looking at market indicators, things that are going to matter no matter when you're looking at this, what month you're looking at this, there are 3 that are particularly important. One is the contracts that were signed in this month, in the most recent month. 2 is the number of units currently available, the supply. And 3 is the price per square foot. Contract signed we'll start with because it's probably the most relevant at any given moment because it gives us indicators of lots of really interesting things. And most importantly, it gives us an indicator in real time what the demand is for. Are studios doing really well? 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3+ bedrooms, stuff like that. Is there a specific price point that's struggling or that's doing really well? And specific locations. These neighborhoods all have their own market. At the same time, one is doing really well, another neighborhood is doing poorly. So those contracts signed give us in real time what's happening at that moment. Super important. Supply is next. Especially interesting when you compare it to the contract signed because we know where there's lots of supply, we know where there's lots of demand. How do those interact to move forward eventually into price? Super, super interesting. In a market like we're in right now, where there's lots of supply, sellers are really being forced to either negotiate, not sell, or really, best case scenario is explain specifically to buyers why your property is unique. If your property is 1 of a million, nobody's going to go crazy to give you a high price. But if there's a reason why your property is special, and there's lots on in this market that is special, buyers are in this market, a market that many consider to be struggling, they are paying very good prices for properties that are special. So it's not the buyer's fault if they don't understand why your property is special. Do what you need to do to make sure that they understand it. Do you need to declutter? Do you need to stage? Do you need to figure out the history of the building or the area or whatever? Make sure that they understand, because if they don't, they're going to move on to the next property. And here we are, last market indicator, price per square foot. But it lags by a lot. It takes about 2 months for the pricing data to get recorded in a reliable way. So that means that when we look in the December report, we're looking at November data. That means that 2 months back from that is when the units closed that we're getting the pricing data in November for. So it's really September when we're looking at the price per square foot in November. But the fact is, it's actually 2-3 months before September even, because it's not really when it closes that it matters. It's actually when it goes into contract that it matters. And it takes about 2 to 3 months for things to go from contract to close. when it goes into contract, that's when the price gets fixed, not when it closes. So looking in November, the fact is that that price per square foot actually happened. Those things actually were fixed in time in May or June. So price per square foot data is super important. You definitely look at that both when deciding what to price something at as a seller and also when deciding what to pay as a buyer. But it's not the end all be all because it's really old data no matter what. So you always also want to look at what's currently available, what's gone into contract, stuff like that. Anybody, any seller who I've met with, we always talk about what's currently available, what's in contract, and what's closed. All three of those are super important because they add different layers to the cake, but you want a whole cake. You don't want just a part of the cake. You want to eat the whole cake, right? I think so. Maybe don't eat a whole cake. You could get sick. Other than that, let me know if you have any questions. Take a look at the tables that follow. And otherwise, have a great day. Bye.